whenever I give a workshop or whenever I work with a client, the one concept that they come back to me and say, oh, that was the most useful thing, is the idea of the gap. And so today, in this video, we're going to spend a lot of time in the gap. So if you were a American convertible, you would want to jump this gap. However, in this video, we're going to learn that it's not a good idea to jump that gap. So I learned about the gap involuntarily. As I was a kid, first of all, I loved computers. That made me a nerd, and I loved computers more than people. And I also loved spending time with books, especially sci-fi. And nobody else. People were just loved to play with a ball or be outside, while I wanted to be inside with computers and books. And also, my romantic interests were for boys, not for girls. And that also set me apart from my peers. And finally, I also chose my own path in life. I didn't go to university, I started university, but I dropped out. And so that made me spend a lot of time in a space where seemingly other people weren't, because they were on this linear path. Now, this has led me to where we are today. My name is Matteo Cassese. I help entrepreneurs turn problems into growth. And I do that by coaching and speaking. And today we are on episode 2 of Founder Journey, where I want to help you create a business that you enjoy by getting clarity, learning about yourself, making an impact, and turn problems into growth. So why do we talk about the gap? Isn't life supposed to be a line? We're here, and there's something that we desire. Well, fortunately, luckily enough, it doesn't look like this. We are here, and between us and what we desire, there isn't a line. But we gotta spend some time down here. We've seen the gap so many times. Like, for instance, entertainment. Entertainment is all about gaps. Have I told you the story of the hobbit that got the Ring of Power and left the Shire? That's how stories begin. They create a gap between where you are and where you want to be. Not only that, basically marketing communication and marketing messaging is all about creating gaps. It's all about making you want a new product. Even better, look at the last thing you bought online, the last thing you bought through e-commerce. Chances are you bought it out of anxiety, out of FOMO, out of fear, not really or out of desire. And all of these are gaps, but I'm thinking that most probably some of the kind of negative emotions might have led you to buy something online. And finally, we are on a platform that is based on this idea of the storytelling gap. When you see a thumbnail like this, what do you think? Like, oh, I would love to know what happens inside here. I trust here a person, and all of this is just about creating a gap. So we see this all the time. Yet, what we still want to do personally is just jump over it. And what we will explore in this video is another way of dealing with the gap. Going back to the starting point and intentionally crashing into the gap. Now, I'm not the only one that talks about this. People talk about the gap with different language. For instance, Jensen Huang was addressing a class of Stanford students. So top of the class, top university in the world, top of the class students. And what he shared with them was that he didn't have anything to say to them because they were the best in the world. And they didn't have resilience because they had high expectations, because they were graduating from the best university, one of the best universities in the world, and for sure for computer science, probably the best university in the world. And so he started to say, I hope suffering happens to you. And to this day, I use the phrase pain and suffering inside the company with great glee. You want to refine the character of your company. Greatness is not intelligence. It comes from character and is informed out of people who suffered. I wish upon you ample doses of pain and suffering. And he's not the only one talking about pain and suffering. Like, for instance, Tim Ferriss, Ryan Holiday, Naval Ravikant, and so many others have brought this revival of Stoic philosophy. The Stoic philosophy is all about encountering the pain and embracing the pain together with embracing the joy, and learning how to embrace the pain so that you can embrace the joy even better. And they're obsessed with the writings of Marcus Aurelius and Seneca. And they're not even the only one. Like, there are so many intellectuals that have given different names to the gap. Brené Brown calls it vulnerability, Nassim Taleb anti-fragility, Esther Perel tension, Ray Dalio pain, Tara Brach acceptance, Jung shadow, David Goggins suffering, Joseph Campbell the cave. We'll come back to the cave. So these were a lot of names, and this is why I've created a workbook with all of the resources that you need to accompany this journey, and you'll find the workbook below. But let's go ahead. So why don't we want to spend time in the gap? Why do we want to jump over it? If we have all of this proof that it's so precious and everybody talks about it in their terms, and still we are avoiding conflict because nobody wants to get punched in the face and nobody wants to get knocked out. Nobody wants to deal with conflict. And what I've been telling my clients for over a decade is there's nothing wrong with conflict. We can all deal with conflict in a constructive way and get wiser and be better on the other side. Yet, we don't want conflict. And we live in a society that gives us all of the convenience possible. If we want to move, if we want to receive something, if we want to maybe have a gap where we might be with ourselves, we might be alone with our thoughts. We have entertainment, we have podcasts, we have a platform like this one, YouTube. And then finally, if there's any gap during our day, during our commute, waiting in line, etc., we can doom scroll. And so finally, we don't see the gap anymore. Look, now it's a line thanks to doom scrolling. And so we can finally celebrate our lives on our phones. This is not what I suggest you do. I'm not saying that you should uninstall Instagram or not be on YouTube. Maybe I'm saying it. I don't want to give you a prescription of what you should do or you shouldn't do. What I want to invite you to do is to spend time in the gap. Why? In the first episode of this series, I shared this idea from Carl Jung about the holding the tension and the fact that if we create a space for the tension, the creative solution can appear. And we name this like the third brain. So if we stay with the conflict long enough, we can have this third brain, this creative solution coming up. But we gotta create the space. So let's talk for a second about creating the space, because this is not something you do in theory, you do it in practice. In the first episode, I told you what happened in 2022. I thought that the solution to one of my problems was external to me, and that my problem of running a business would have been solved by applying an external framework. A cookie-cutter solution coming from the outside in. Now, what happened in 2024, 2 years later, and a lot of pain and suffering later, caused by avoiding pain and suffering, because I was avoiding pain and suffering by getting an external solution. Instead, I should have spent time in the gap. In 2024, I said to myself, okay, I got it. I got the lesson. Now I'm going to spend some time in the gap. What does it look like? Well, shutting down a business, firing all my clients, not having any revenue, tapping into my savings, doing nothing. Like being tempted to do 1,000 things and doing nothing, closing the laptop, going on a walk, working on other stuff, working on your hobbies, reading, meditating, again, doing nothing. It's so scary. It's so scary, the idea of doing nothing. And I did this in a quite, I think, normal way, but some people consider, oh, that was so extreme, for 4-5 months. And at the 4th month, I started organizing stuff that would become Mythmaker, which is what you are experiencing right now. But I'd spent all of that time in the gap. And this is why I'm suggesting that you do the same. I'm suggesting that you spend time in the gap. What happens in practice in the gap? Well, your gap is a space for you to enjoy. Enjoy conflict and pain? Yes, I wish upon you pain and suffering, and I wish upon you to enjoy it. What happens in this gap? You got to know yourself. First of all, you learn about yourself in the gap. Your gap is unique. Your problem is unique. And so is your solution. Your solution is unique. Don't try to ikigai your way out of it. Don't try to use a framework to get out of the gap. Because again, you would be recruiting a solution that it's from the outside in. You want to find a solution from the inside out. And maybe this solution brings you back to the beginning, maybe it gets you deeper in the gap, or just maybe it gets you out of the gap. And what you do is you stay with the pain, you stay with the discomfort, you feel, you listen, you take notes, you're exploring this, and you make space for the tension. Okay, that's a bunch of theory. So I asked my clients, what is the gap to you? And Jen told me it's like going down the rabbit hole with Alice. There's the gold there. And then she said, I'm reminded of that Joseph Campbell quote, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And then I asked Sophie, and Sophie told me, oh, the gap, opportunity, space, challenge, exciting, curiosity, totally in the positive. How is that possible? But yeah, after a while, you say, oh yes, finally I have a problem, and I have a way to solve the problem. I have to stay with myself, go in the gap, explore, be curious, get excited about the new problem. However, we have an issue. That issue is that you want to be right. And you're only confident when you're doing the right thing. And being in the gap is basically doing the wrong thing. And this is an issue. Because while you're in the gap, you are not right. You are very wrong. And if you lose your confidence, you're going to be doubly suffering. And so, in the next episode, we need to talk confidence. And we'll do that. We'll do that. And we're going to reframe completely how you see confidence. I'll give you a way of being confident without being confident. So I'll see you in the next episode. If this is available, it's going to already pop magically in front of you. Anyway, below, you will find a playlist with all of the episodes of this series, and you will find the extra resources. This was Founder Journey. If you enjoyed this, send me something. Send me a signal. Send the algorithm a signal. Subscribe. Do the like thing. Do the comment thing. And download the workbook, because it's going to be much easier for you to follow along with that. And I'll see you in the next episode where we talk all about confidence and we reframe confidence for you. Till then, take care.